You already know this story. Or you think you do. A giant company gets rich on film. Digital photography arrives. The giant doesn't see it coming, clings to the past and dies. It is the most repeated business parable of the last 20 years. It is also wrong in the one place that matters. Kodak saw it coming. Kodak built it. And in 2005, 7 years before the bankruptcy, Kodak was the #1 seller of digital cameras in the United States. They won the thing that was supposed to have killed them. And it killed them anyway. So the interesting question is not why Kodak missed the future. It's what happens to a company when it catches the future and discovers the future pays worse. 3 things. What they built in 1975, what they won in 2005, and the trap underneath both. In 1975, a young engineer at Kodak named Steven Sasson put together something nobody had asked him for. It was the size of a toaster. It weighed about 8 pounds. It recorded onto a cassette tape. A single image took 23 seconds to capture. And the picture it produced was 10,000 pixels, 100 by 100, a postage stamp of gray mush. It was also the first battery-operated handheld digital camera anyone had ever built. And it was built inside Kodak, by a Kodak engineer on Kodak's payroll, a full generation before the world had any use for it. Hold that fact next to the parable. This is not a company that failed to imagine the future. This is the company that had the future sitting on a bench in Rochester, New York, in 1975. And for a long time it did not matter, because the existing business was extraordinary. Revenue peaked around $16 billion in 1996. Profits ran to roughly $2.5 billion in 1999. But Kodak did not merely sell cameras. It sold the film that went in them. Then it sold the developing. Then the prints. Then the film for next time. That is the part people forget. The camera was never the business. The camera was the thing that created a customer who had to come back to you over and over for the rest of their life. Now the part the parable leaves out entirely. Kodak did pivot. It built digital cameras, it sold them hard, and it sold them well. In 2005, its digital camera sales hit $5.7 billion. That was up 40% in a single year. It made Kodak the #1 seller of digital cameras in the United States. Read that again, because it is the whole episode. The company supposedly destroyed by its refusal to go digital was, in 2005, Winning Digital. Here is what Winning bought them. A roll of film was a consumable. You bought it, you used it up, you came back. And it carried a high margin. This was one of the most profitable consumer products of the 20th century. A digital camera is not a consumable. You buy it once. There is no roll to replace, no envelope to drop at the counter, nothing to come back for. And you are selling it against Canon and Sony and Nikon, and eventually against a phone, in a market that drives prices down every year by design. So Kodak made a swap. It gave up a business that sold you something forever, at a high margin. It got a business that sold you one thing, at a fraction of that margin, in a knife fight against everybody. They executed the transition. The transition was the problem, and the position did not hold, because there was nothing underneath it to hold it up. #1 in 2005. By 2007, 4th, with under 10% of the market. By 2010, 7th with 7%. That is what a commodity market does to a company whose entire cost structure was built for something else. Kodak was competing with firms that had never needed a 40% margin, and could not stop competing with them without leaving the category altogether. You can now see the decision that gets mocked in every retelling in a different light. Kodak's leadership was reluctant to invest heavily in digital. The reason usually given is cowardice or blindness. The sourced version is duller and more uncomfortable. It meant pouring enormous money into a market that was, at the time, small, and doing it by cannibalizing the most profitable thing they owned. Every quarter they delayed, the film business kept paying. Every quarter they committed, they funded their own replacement with worse economics. That is not stupidity. that is a trap with the exit welded shut from the inside. On the 19th of January, 2012, Eastman Kodak filed for Chapter 11, not liquidation, bankruptcy protection, a restructuring. The company still exists today, much smaller, selling into print and chemicals and film for movies. But the Kodak that owned the way the world remembered itself was finished. 130 years, and the yellow box went from the most recognizable object in the family cupboard to a story people tell wrongly at conferences. So here is the play. The lesson everyone takes from Kodak is, don't miss the disruption. That lesson is close to useless, because almost nobody misses it. Kodak didn't. Kodak built the prototype in 1975 and led the market in 2005. The real lesson is harder. Ask what your margin is actually made of. Kodak's profits never came from cameras. They came from a consumable that customers had to keep buying. When the new technology arrived, the company could copy the product exactly and still not copy the economics, because the economics had never been in the product. Seeing the future is the easy part. Steven Sasson saw air in 1975 on a bench with 10,000 pixels. The hard part is what you do when you get there, and find the future doesn't pay as well as the past did. Most companies never even get that far. Kodak did, and that is what makes it worth studying, rather than laughing at.